What's going on, guys? You're watching the Shieldbearer Faith. So I had a pretty interesting day today. Let's share it with y'all about COVID-19 and my involvement in its vicinity today, potentially. Anyway, we'll word it that way. So I've told you guys, we go to the hospital for a lot. ECOs, gunshot wounds, whatever. So I'm pretty familiar with what normal looks like at the hospital. Today was not normal. Not even close. My sister works at the hospital that I was at today. She's new to that hospital. Not normal, okay? So I get there with my subject today. They're in custody. I park by the emergency room like I always do for this kind of thing, and we walk up and we are met at the door by two people in full gowns like you would see in the trauma bay if they're gonna do surgery on a gunshot victim. Full gown. It's a yellowish kind of gown, full sleeves, tied off in the back. They got rubber gloves over top of the gown, and then they got masks on. Well, that's different, and they stop us at the door. They're like, hey, have you been out of the state or out of the country in the last 30 days? And they're designated, their little tag says medic on it. I initially said, no, I haven't. And then they asked the person I was with, they had been in Tennessee within the last 30 days. Then I recalled, I was like, wait a minute, I was with Grindstone Ministries 30 days ago in Midwest, so yeah, I've traveled. Then my wife reminded me a minute ago that I've been to a whole bunch of places. I've been to Tennessee in the last few weeks. I went to Midwest with Grindstone Ministry in 30 days ago, which caused me to go to New York and to Arkansas airports. So yeah, I've been all over the place. Didn't even remember that. And so once they document our names and where we said we had been, they let us into the ER. ER is a little different too. There are a lot of people in there. A lot of people. And they have a new wall up. It is solid white, extends from the floor to the ceiling, and it is bolted and sealed at both ends. And it is a quarantine section. So if you came through that door and you had symptoms, they would have sent you there and then figured out what to do with you. So I asked the nursing staff, hey, do y'all have anybody exhibiting these symptoms? Have you all had any cases you think are COVID-19? And I was told, yep, we think we've got two that are gonna be confirmed. I said, oh, really? They said, yeah, we're pretty sure right now. I said, all right, have you had anybody coming in with symptoms matching today? They said, yeah. And then I find out a little later, and I haven't confirmed this yet, but I was told this, that apparently all the influx of people in the emergency room and the fact that they put people at the door the way they did was because our governor issued some sort of a statement telling everyone in our state that if you had symptoms to go to the emergency room. Now, I have not verified that, but I was told that by a pretty reliable source. If that's the case, it caused the hospital to get hit really hard all at once. So I checked with my sister, just check on her while I was there. I called her. I texted her, called her later. She told me, she's like, yeah, so they got such an influx that they issued a different code over the intercom. And I said, oh yeah, I heard that code. I said, what was that meaning? And it was a disaster preparedness code / it was telling all medical staff they could not leave because they had such a high influx of patients so quickly they were overwhelmed. That's what that code meant. I'm not gonna tell you all the code because I don't know if that's disseminatable. But I heard it while I was there. I started asking nursing staff before I ever talked to my sister about what it meant. They showed me an email that they had received, the nursing staff did, as a result of that code, talking about you don't want to leave the state right now. It's talking about the governor is issuing a state of emergency kind of thing, that we are likely having exposures. Interesting stuff. All while I was there. So typically we get through the triage area and the emergency room pretty quick when I take somebody in. We almost get priority. Not today. We sat in the emergency room where all these quote unquote infected people were for 2.5 hours. Whew! That'll make you feel good. And seeing the quarantine style behaviors. When I talked to my sister, she was concerned because she noticed that the hospital was not ready, not even close. She said there were obvious cracks and flaws in their level of preparedness. My sister is not a prepper. My sister is not into that at all. But my sister is a very educated person. And so she told me, she's like, I'm not into conspiracies, but this is ridiculous. She's like, the amount of hysteria this is causing, she's like, people are losing it over this. And then she told me that, the governor had issued that statement. She's like, we got hit with so many people so fast that we weren't ready for it. She's like, we didn't have enough dust masks for this. We didn't have enough equipment for this. We didn't have even close to enough rooms for this. There were people waiting for hours over things that were fairly minor. The system has cracks. Are you seeing them? I saw them literally today. I personally saw that the system is not ready for this. If it gets overwhelmed, it will fracture, and that's dangerous. Then there was concern while I was still at the hospital with this individual. There was thought and concern that I was notified of by a coworker that was still outside of the hospital. He said, hey, by the way, just letting you know, they think they may have a confirmed case of COVID-19. I don't know where he got that from, but he said they think they might have a confirmed case, so they're talking about the hospital may be quarantined. So I then notified my wife of that potential. I told her, I was like, hey, just letting you know what the status is. I don't know anything more than that right now. She said, okay. And then I started thinking, I was like, all right, what's my next plan? If, in fact, this happens, I'm a uniformed officer that may be useful if I needed to be, meaning the hospital staff has police. But if I'm stuck there, I'm not gonna just be doing nothing, and I'm in uniform, so let me help. So I started thinking about, all right, who am I gonna link up with? What are the officers that I saw my way in that I knew, if any? What services could I assist with? Then I started thinking about how I would communicate with them. So I'd have to talk to them about getting a radio. I started planning all this. I was like, all right, how am I gonna charge my phone? I had my charger in my pocket, but I didn't have the wall plug. I had the USB side of things. All right, all this was real stuff. Started thinking about where I would tell my wife to take the kids if they did confirm that I was in an environment of exposure, and if they didn't let me leave, or if they did let me leave, should I quarantine myself? I had all these thoughts going on, trying to plan out what the next step was if I was stuck there or not. In my time there, I did not get stuck. I even notified the parent dependent just to get some other word out in case something else were to go on. I notified him. I was like, hey, this is going on. Just be aware of that. They think they might have confirmed cases. Interesting day. Interesting to see people's behavior. A lot of staff was ready to go. I don't blame them, not saying that, but a lot of staff was like, I'm getting the heck out of here. I was of the mindset that if the place is quarantined, I'm gonna serve God in that capacity, and I was trusting that He had me in that environment for a reason. But if it was not quarantined, yeah, I want to go home too. I'm good with it. Interesting day. The system is not ready. Not for something that big. The governor, if the governor did issue that statement today, man, he did not help. He did not help. People then start panicking, and when they're in the emergency room around all these other people that were thinking that they had COVID-19, and they're seeing this quarantine wall put up, and they're seeing these people in gowns and masks, they're thinking this is real, because it is. But most people are not broached with the concept that they might catch something like this, and there's a lot of hysteria around it. When I was leaving, instead of 2 people in that area, and they had locked down doors and stuff to the emergency room. I had to get somebody to scan a badge to let me through to leave. But when I was coming back out, they had started issuing colored stickers to people so that they could identify who was likely at risk or what symptoms they may have based just visually. That was interesting. And then when I was leaving, instead of 2 people at that entrance door, they had about 7, all gowned up similarly. And then they had a desk that had been set up with a computer so they could start documenting people right then. That's a big step up, guys. I talked to my sister. She was like, yeah. I finally asked, hey, are we able to leave? And she's like, they told me I could leave, so I left. I don't blame her. Let's see what the next few days are like. If they do confirm one, this will be the first confirmation of COVID-19 at the hospital I was at today. Pay attention. The world is interesting right now. There's a lot going on. And I think there's a lot going on under the scenes or behind the scenes that we are not privy to right now. Be alert. Don't panic. Don't be afraid. Be alert. And I'll see you later.